is going on, everybody? So today I'm here to talk about my top 10 favorite science fiction subgenres. And I love science fiction. It's my favorite genre of anything, like movies, TV shows, video games, all that stuff. I mean, I'm playing through the freaking Mass Effect games for the 20 billionth time right now. I love those games. Um, so yeah, let's talk about my top 10 favorite subgenres of science fiction. And number 10 for me, I actually recorded this once, and I said, you know what, I have to put this one on here because it's too freaking cool not to, and I've always loved stuff like it. So screw it, let's do it. And number 10 for me is Sword and Planet. Sword and Planet is a subgenre of sci-fi and space fantasy, and it's basically like a John Carter of Mars, or even like a Flash Gordon, or um, a Buck Rogers type of thing, where a guy gets to a science fiction like planet or a fantasy like planet, and they have science fiction style weapons, vehicles, all that stuff, but they're very much a fantasy like uh, world in terms of castles and stuff like that, villages and spears and stuff. But like I said, they all have like beam or laser weapons and stuff like that. Sword and Planet's basically He-Man. If to talk about the new movie again, which I fucking love that movie. It was awesome. Yeah, very much so a space fantasy Sword and Planet style of a uh, of of a universe. I really did like that movie quite a bit, and I'm very sad it didn't do well at the box office. Hopefully, we get sequels on Amazon Prime or something, because I very much enjoyed that film. But yeah, that's basically like a Sword and Planet style thing. Like I said, John Carter, Buck Rogers, and Flash Gordon are also could be considered Sword and Planet style things too. So yeah, my number 9 is space fantasy or science fantasy, whatever you want to call it. Very much piggybacking off the Sword and Planet style thing. Um, they're very similar. Basically, sci-fi or fantasy is the genre, and the subgenre is fantasy. And then the subgenre is Sword and Planet. I absolutely love space fantasy. Basically, story wise, uh, Star Wars is space opera, with the rebellion going up against the Empire, but with all the Jedi and the Sith and that mythology and stuff like that. That's very much science fantasy or space fantasy style stuff. Um, I've always loved space fantasy style things because it looks like a science fiction universe, but then again, you have the mythic or the magic or the supernatural stuff of the Force, and it's very interesting and very very cool. Um, so yeah, that's basically like generally how to kind of explain it. Yeah, I've always liked it a lot. I've always had fun with it, and yeah, space or science fantasy is my number 9. My number 8 is steampunk. I love steampunk. The aesthetic of steampunk, more than anything else, is so cool. It is so interesting. This Victorian era look to it, with a industrial look made with steam and everything. I love the aesthetic of it. It's so cool. It's so interesting. It's so visually like interesting. And yeah, I love steampunk style stuff. It's really really cool, dude. Number 7, piggybacking off steampunk, is almost like the reverse of steampunk, but also being not similar, but in the same ish type of vein in a way, and that's cyberpunk. Not the game, even though the game is very much called cyberpunk, and it's the world itself is very cyberpunk as well. Um, Great world, great game, by the way. Uh, uh, Blade Runner is also something cyberpunk style. It's like the cyberpunk. Like when people talk about cyberpunk, that's what I think of. The world of Blade Runner might be my favorite world in science fiction. I absolutely love it. It's so well done. Love it. Um, um, what's the anime? Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is very much cyberpunk style. Just very very dark, gritty, overcrowded stuff. It's almost apocalyptic, kind of. But yeah, I've always been a cyberpunk punk fan, and it's very very cool. And yeah, great sub genre aesthetically and story wise. You can very much so. Yeah, it's great. Number six, I kind of put them together because they're along the same line. They're actually very very similar, but there are differences, obviously, of them. Um, or they do have differences, obviously. Um, Post-apocalyptic and dystopian. Post-apocalyptic is basically like a nuclear war type stuff, and then dystopian is basically where a to, a total oh my god, a totalitarian. There you go. Derp, 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 derp. Totalitarian government basically shuts everything down. That's more of the dystopian side. But yeah, I absolutely love post-apocalyptic and dystopian style stories. I just love again the look of it. I love seeing the awesome giant city just be empty and barren and decayed. And just it's so cool. I Am Legend. I don't love the movie. It's a good movie. I just love looking at the. I just love looking at the city. I love looking at. I believe he's in New York or Chicago, one of the two, and just watching like the cars were still there, and the everything's growing, all the grass, all the leaves, all the vines, all that stuff. Very cool to me. Um, so that's very much that's post apocalyptic and dystopian style thing. So there we go with that. Number five for me is space western. Um, I love westerns. I love science fiction, obviously. So blending them together has always been a very cool prospect for me. I was trying to think of the word other than cool, but screw it. I'll just say it. Cool. Um, yeah, I love space westerns. My favorite ever space western probably is Serenity and Firefly. That universe is just so cool. If you take the spaceship out of it, it's basically a modern western type or a futuristic western type story. I love it though. Just that whole universe is awesome. Um, yeah, just seeing like a cowboy on like a mechanical horse or driving a spaceship is very very cool to me. So there we go with that. Um, so yeah, space western is my number five. Number four for me is sci-fi horror, Aliens, The Thing, um, Pandorum from like 2009. That's a really underrated one. So yeah, and then you have like you said, the thing where an alien is going through and terrorizing these people in the Arctic, and it's or the Arctic. Excuse me, the Arctic. It's the Arctic. But yeah, I love the genuinely I love all three of the Thing films. Actually, I like all three of the Thing films. I love the original from the 50s. I love the John Carpenter remake, reboot, whatever you want to call it, reimagining, and then I also really like the prequel. That's actually a prequel, the third one that came out in like 2011, with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I really really like that movie. The biggest problem with it, obviously, is the CGI and all that crap with all that movie. But yeah, sci-fi horror, I love it. It's great. Um, it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. So number three is Mecha. I've been a giant robot fan since I was a kid. Thank you, Transformers. Thank you for making me a giant robot fan. You even have stuff like freaking Power Rangers from back in the day that had the giant swords and stuff like that, and it was just great, man. Like I loved it. And then you have stuff like Neon Genesis Evangelion, and then stuff like like the ultimate for me nowadays with Mecha is Gundam. I'm a giant Gundam fan, always have been, always will be. Well, I always have been. But when I found out what Gundam was back in the day, I was like, oh, giant robots, and then stuff like the Big O and Neon Genesis Evangelion. Like I said before, all that stuff is just awesome mecha stories and action. It's just so much fun and so cool. I mean, you can even say that in some of these there's like a military sci-fi or space opera style story in them for sure. But yeah, there's just some great stuff in there, and I love Gundam, and yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for their movie to come out. And I know it's going to Netflix, but I'm very excited for it. So absolutely going to watch that when it comes out. But my number one and my number two, um, are kind of always been my number one and number two, and they're very similar to each other. But my number two is military sci-fi. Starship Troopers is probably the most popular example out there. It's such a fun movie. Ender's Game is another one. You can even call them the Mass Effect movies. Some sort of military sci-fi. Uh, Even though it's mostly what my number one is overall, but it still definitely does have the military sci-fi angle to it as well. But yeah, my number two military sci-fi, absolutely love it. Have always, will always, and yeah, military sci-fi. Basically, military sci-fi are military movies, but in space. Basically, instead of on Earth, they're in space, or they're in the future on Earth or some other planet. Yeah, I absolutely love um, military sci-fi, so that's my number two. But number one, like I said, it's very similar to military sci-fi in a way, and that is space opera. Space opera is basically uh, sci-fi mixed with space fantasy. But it's like I said with the space fantasy thing. It's the Empire or the rebellion versus the Empire, and it's just this really cool because it's not always that, because it is cool because it's not always that the David and Goliath thing. It can also be space adventure type stuff like Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers or even He-Man is even kind of space opera ish in a way. Not, I wouldn't call it space opera, but it has elements definitely of space opera, and I always have loved it. So there we go with that. Yes, I love space opera. It's great, and yeah, it's definitely my favorite of the subgenre of sci-fi. So I will talk to you guys later on. Peace out. Live, love, and prosper. That's what she said. Whatever you want to say. Peace out. Bye bye.